All right, here's the first question on the graphing part, or the non-calculator part of the test. You're supposed to graph this exponential equation using only SRT transformations. Then we got to see what the domain, the range, and the asymptote is. So the parent function here is y equals 3 to the x. And that's the first thing that you'd want to graph. And I'll graph it here. And remember, whenever you graph this thing, it's just kind of an internal table of values. I stick in -1 for x. X to the -1 power is 1/3. I stick in 0. It's 1. I stick in 1. It's 3. I stick in 2. It's up here at 9. And you don't have to connect those dots. Basically, you just need those dots that we're going to do our SRT transformations on. My S, my R, my T. I'm scaling it by 1/3, and it's 1/3 times the y coordinates. Since it's not negative out here, I'm not reflecting it, and I am going to translate it left 4, it's always the opposite on the x, and down 5. So I do that for each one of these little points. Like, for example, I can start here at this one that's at 1/3. I need to take 1/3 of it, so it's going to be at 1/9. And now I move it to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's really close to -5 there. I'm going to do that to each one of my points. So these end up to be my new points. I take this one that's at 1, take 1/3 of it, right 1, or left 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's at this point here. I do it to the one at 3. I take 1/3 of it. It's at 1, over 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next one, I take 1/3 of 9. It's at 3, left 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And you can see I have an extra point here. And that extra point came from, if I were to plug in 3 in for x, 3 to the 3rd is 27. So 27, way up off of the graph, but whenever I take 1/3 of it, it's at 9. Left 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Connect my dots, and I can see that I'm getting closer and closer and closer to 5, so there's my little asymptote there. My domain for exponential functions is always all real numbers, and the range I can see is always greater than -5. It's never going to be -5, greater than -5. And my asymptote is at y equals -5. Okay, let's try another one. This one has the exact same parent function, y equals 3 to the x. However, this is really y equals 3 to the -x. And as we saw, well, as we talked about in the lessons, that this negative exponent is the same thing as a reciprocal, so really this is y equals 1/3 to the x power. Or you can think of this as just being a reflection across the y-axis. So here's our parent function again. The actual parent function being y equals 3 to the x. And then we can just consider this as being a reflection across the y-axis. So in SRT transformations, I am not scaling it. This negative out front reflects it across the x-axis. This negative in front of the x reflects it across the y-axis, so we're reflecting it across both. And we're only translating it up 4. So I'm going to pause here right now, to be continued in the next video.